So, hello everyone, good evening, and thank you so much for joining our event today. So, we are APU Tech Club, which includes APU students having interest in technology and wanting to inspire others to learn and seek job opportunities in the tech field. So, if you're interested, please scan this QR code on the screen to our social media for upcoming events. And for today, we're going to have our guest speakers sharing about their experience as a product manager at Rakuten. And finally, there's going to be a Q&A session. So with no further ado, I will pass off the stage to our guest speaker, Tanmay Goel and Annie. So Tanmay, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. And thanks a lot for helping us organize this event so quickly. I know that we only decided this last week. So I'm really happy to see the turnout. Since we don't have much time, let's begin. Let me share my screen. Okay, so yeah, I hope that people here today are here and interested to learn about the career of product manager. And the reason I really like to share about this information is because I wish that I had this kind of exposure to this role when I was in university. Because as you'll know in the future, from my story, you'll realize that I kind of like had to do a lot of things before I realized this was an actual thing. So, and then, yeah, as you can see, I put a picture of a roller coaster here because product manager is kind of like being on a roller coaster. You know, there's a lot of ups and downs, but it's super thrilling. And yeah, that's what I want to share with you guys today. So let's begin. All right. So yeah, so today we'll be talking mostly about like my story and how I became a product manager. And then we'll obviously talk about what a product manager is, and most importantly, what it isn't. So I saw some of the questions that were sent before, and there seems to be a lot of like people asking about different things like technical skill or what kind of requirements they might have. So let's discuss that as well. And then finally, if you decide that this could be something interesting for you, then how you can become one and what are the ways to stand out to do so. Let's begin. So how I arrived here, right? So I started my undergrad in 2015 and I studied in Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Before that, I was born and brought up in India. And within the 4 years, I basically did like everything I could imagine because I was not sure at all what I really wanted to do. I was an engineering student and I started studying computer science. But throughout my 4 years, I did so many internships in actual software engineering. I did consulting, marketing, strategy, and even did like my own startup. And finally, after doing all these, I kind of realized that, okay, this like there was something specific I wanted to do. And then I decided to become a product manager. So let me take you through this journey really quickly. Firstly, like, yeah, so I decided to study computer science because I enjoyed math and science. And I also, like at that time in India, especially, there was a huge boom of engineers becoming entrepreneurs, which was something that I really wanted to do. So I thought, okay, this may be the best way to get into the tech industry. But I would say like I didn't enjoy studying computer science a lot because we were studying it from a very theoretical point of view, and university can get that way. So it was really hard to like apply it in real life and see what I could do with like these skills. That's why I decided, okay, maybe I should join an internship to see how I can actually use the skills I'm learning to create things. So then I decided to do a coding internship and I did it at a unicorn startup in India. But immediately I realized that this was not intuitive to me, right? So I kind of knew, okay, if I have this task, this is what I should do. But I couldn't figure out how to translate it to code. And that was something that I realized that, okay, if this is not something that I'm really enjoying, how can I have a whole career in this kind of role, right? That started really bothering me a lot. More importantly, like when I used to get any tasks, I always used to think about why are we getting this task, you know? Whereas engineers usually their focus goes into, okay, how can we make it happen? So that's when I realized there was like a mismatch between what an engineer is supposed to do versus what I really want to do. And finally, yeah, like as an engineer, I was supposed to talk to the computer for 9 hours a day. Although that's not true now, I've realized I speak to a lot of engineers daily and they have a lot of other stuff to do other than coding. But at that time, I was really interested in having a more human to human communication role. And I didn't want to sit in front of a computer the whole day, which unfortunately, because of COVID, we have to do anyway, because we're all working from home. But yeah, you guys get what I mean. Yeah, so then I was like, okay, this is not something I want to do. So let me try something else. So I decided to do consulting. And now consulting was something completely different from software engineering, because now there was no coding involved, but it was all about directly problem solving and communication. So if you had kind of like you had a problem, and then you had to find the solutions to that using by like speaking to people or clients and those kind of things. So I really enjoyed this. But one thing I realized about consulting was that once the project is over, you don't actually get to build it. You just give the recommendations and you finish, and then you move on to the next thing. And that felt really incomplete, because I really wanted to be involved in the execution and like see how it affected the final end users. And finally, consulting is a really intense job, and I really wanted more control over my time and work life balance. So I realized, okay, maybe this is not for me as well. But I realized that the problem solving aspect of it was really fun. Then after that, the next thing I did was I was like, okay, how can I have the problem solving aspect but also see the effect of my solutions, right? So then I decided to like start my own company while I was in university. And that was really fun, because I was always very passionate about entrepreneurship. And my favorite part I realized in that whole aspect was actually building out the platform with the engineers. So that's when I realized that, okay, there's something that I really like to do. So I don't have to code, but I'm still heavily involved in the building out of the platform or the technology. And at that time, I didn't know what this kind of thing is called. But I knew that this is something I really wanted to do. So my plan was that if I cannot find any similar role or similar kind of position, then I would probably go back to India or start my own company, just because that was what I really wanted to do. And then in university, I took a course called Human Computer Interaction. And this was given by our computer science faculty, but it was the only course that there was no coding involved. So I was really intrigued by this. And so I took it. And I realized that now that we are in a state where technology is so far advanced, the focus is not just on how to build technology, but it's also about how you can make it usable and how to make it easy to use for its users, who are in most cases humans, right? In this, we didn't have any restrictions of feasibility. Like we could dream of any solutions to the problems without having to build it. That was something that I realized, okay, this is exactly what I really wanted to do. This is how I found out about the job of a product manager, right? So I was like, okay, finally I found something that's really good for me. Now I just have to apply, right? And unfortunately, it wasn't that simple. In Hong Kong at that time, or just generally all over the world, product manager was not a very popular role for university students, because it required you to have experience as a software engineer or an MBA, right? And these are two things that you may not have as a fourth final year university student. So I was not able to find any good roles in Hong Kong. However, at that time, Rakuten was one of the companies who was hiring in Hong Kong, and they were hiring for product manager, even though you're a university student. Like they were open to, them trying out as well. And I realized they have this kind of junior product manager program for new graduates. And when I applied, then because of my past experiences and passion that I showed, like I got this job. And surprisingly, I was like the youngest. So I was 22 when I moved to Japan, and the next youngest person in my team was around 26 years old. So I started in this career at a very, very young age, and that has given me a lot of really cool advantages, since this is a very hard position to get into, especially because it's so popular now. So we'll talk about that more later as well. But yeah, so with that in mind, in 2019, I applied for Rakuten, and I started working in September. And it's been 2.5 years now. I've been a product manager at Rakuten Travel. And aside from that, I also, maybe through Annie or someone else, you may have heard of MyMizu, which is a sustainable startup in Japan. So I've been helping out their product as well in my free time. And also I'm like the organizer of Product Tank Tokyo, which is like a community for product people in Japan. So you can see I'm very into this space. And now let me tell you why. Okay, so one thing I've realized, and one thing that someone told me when I was going to start my job, is that imagine that if you do get a job, right, you'll be working at least 40 plus hours of your week, or like a majority of time of your life in a job, or at least doing whatever you're doing, right? So you better make sure that you love it. Otherwise, you don't want to end up spending a majority of your waking hours doing something you don't like. And I was really happy to find a job that fit like all the criterias for me, so that I'm excited to go to work the next day rather than, stressed out. Like I've heard a lot from my other friends who are working in different industries or roles which may not be the best suited for them. So that's why it's important to see whether this is something that you really like. And regardless of what you do, make sure that you're excited about the next day at work. Otherwise, it's going to be a really hard time doing or like in any career that you want. So yeah, so I really love doing this, and let's talk about why. So before that, maybe some of you already know, but let me go through the textbook definition of a product manager. So you must have maybe even seen this Venn diagram, which is like a product manager is like a center of user experience, tech, and business. At that time, people definitely didn't know what it meant, so it was an easy way to explain, but it's much more nuanced than that. And as you can see, like the definition says that a product manager is responsible for evaluating opportunities and determining what gets built and delivered to customers, right? So there's a very boring but right definition. Another way to explain it is like, are you like a mini CEO within a company? Again, I've put that with a question mark because there's a lot of differences between a product manager and a CEO. However, you could think of it like that. Like, for example, if you are completely in charge of one technology or one feature, then you have the decision-making power of how that will affect the people that use it, right? So that's what a product manager does. But let me tell it to you in a more easier way. So this is a very high level, I guess, view of what a product manager does. You find a problem that needs to be solved, right? There's many ways to do that. You could talk to customers, you could look at data, you could see what competitors are doing. Then based on that problem, you find the solutions. And these solutions, again, you could find from many different areas. You could use your skill, you could brainstorm, design thinking, user research, and you could see how to solve them. Then you actually get them built. So this is where it goes to the next level from consulting or some kind of advisory job, where you actually work with the designers, developers, and get it built and marketed and released out into the world. And finally, you get feedback from your users. And from feedback, you find more problems, and then you dream up more solution, and this cycle keeps continuing. Since we don't have much time, I wanted to do a small UX exercise with you guys, but we'll skip it for now. The simple exercise was I wanted to ask you guys, which one do you think is better user experience, one or two? So think about it, and maybe later if we have time for question answers, we can discuss this again, but I would like to move on to the next part. So yeah, so what I do at Rakuten specifically, I'm working at Rakuten Travel, but even in Rakuten Travel, we are working on building products for the future of the international travel industry. As you know, because of COVID, international travel is going through a very interesting time. And it's very great to think about how can we still make it possible, even though there's so many restrictions. So that's something we are working on. And we are part of a 15-member team. All of them are product managers or designers, but the entire team size, including engineers and business people, is almost 100. So it's a huge team working on a very big project. Specifically, I'm working on the consumer facing travel service. So that means that if you've used apps like Booking, Expedia, Airbnb, so we are building similar product to that, but however, with a different twist and different features and use cases. And this is an example of one of the services that we have released. And yeah, and specifically within this part, I manage the user end-to-end user experience of some specific features, like for example, guest review. So I need to make sure that when the user is putting out guest reviews, we make it super easy for them. We get all the right information, and it's useful for the hotels as well as other users to see. So I have to make sure that every part of that experience is good and it's built out. But yeah, that's just one example. There's many such you different experiences on the platform that I take care of. And yeah, so this is kind of what I do at Rakuten. But what does a PM really do in each stage of product development, right? So when you saw that high level, now this is how it goes into more detail. The kind of cycle starts at user research. So we really go through user feedback and speak to a lot of users to understand what kind of problems they are facing, and how, what do they think of the current solutions, how can they be improved, what is missing, and maybe anything that can help them achieve their goals in a much easier way. Now, and these users can be anyone. They could be people within Rakuten, businesses, and they could also be like actual users. Then we gather the requirements. So we speak to all these different people and we understand what we really need to do. Then when we have different, like a list of solutions, we can't build all of them at once. We need to prioritize these to make sure that the right ones get built at the right time. Then we actually define the experience of how it needs to happen from step A to step B to step C all the way to release. Then yeah, then you work with designers, you explain to them your vision and your flow. You work with developers, you help them understand what technologies they may need to use to help this come to life. Then you actually test it to make sure it's working as per your expectations, and then you help in the release and marketing. So you bring this to your users and you tell them that, hey, remember that problem you talked about, here's how we solved it, and let's see how you think about it. And yeah, and then you keep continuing this cycle multiple times, and because you can never have a perfect product, the industry keeps changing, requirements keep changing, so you just have to keep understanding it and keep adapting to the different landscape of the industry. Now let's bust some common PM myths. One thing that a lot of I saw a lot of questions beforehand was that people were asking about whether you need a tech background or not. So let me come out and say that no, you do not need to have a tech background to become a product manager. Or a tech background specifically means like, do you need to know how to code, right? So no, you don't need to know how to code. That's the second myth. Specifically because you need to have a passion for technology. You need to understand how things work, but that's something you, as a product manager, if you have this right set of skills, you can pick up really quickly, right? Learning how to learn is really important skill as a product manager. So you don't need to know how to code, but however, you do need a passion for technology. That's really important. And you need to understand how the technology industry works. Do you need to know how to design? Like, do you need to know how to use Photoshop, Figma, or any other things? No, because there are UX designers or like UI designers who are specifically trained for those things. So what you do need to know is you need to have good user experience skill, and you need to have good design sense. Like, you need to be able to look at something and understand whether it's easy to use or not, so that you can build things which are easy to use. Now, another question I get asked a lot is that, is product management and project management same? So that's not true. Project management is a very different role and has a completely different set of skills required. And sometimes it may not even be related to technology at all. It's related to timelines, budgeting, and making sure everyone has the right resources to do things. However, product management, as I mentioned, it's kind of involves user research. It involves working with developers, designers to build it, and a lot of other things in between. And finally, yeah, so as I mentioned, product manager specifically is not the mini CEO of the product, because a CEO is more like a leader. A CEO manages people, a CEO does a lot of other things. You are not managing people, right? You're managing a product, which is very different, and there's a lot of people involved in it. I think that's one myth that a lot of people also ask, so I wanted to make it clear. Then the question you would ask is like, what skills do you really need, right? So I think the three most important skills that one would need are, firstly, user empathy. You need to be able to identify what are the needs of your users, and build the products that satisfy those needs as well as business goals. So you need to really understand human behavior. You need to be able to get insights from talking to people as to what are the real problems they are facing. For example, like maybe they are facing a specific problem, but you realize that this is not the only problem that this may cause. So you can empathize and you can understand that many other different types of users are facing the same problem, so you can find a solution to fix all of them. Then product vision, like, so if you come up with an idea, you need to be able to convince everyone who is in charge of building it. So yeah, you need to be able to convince people why they need to build it, right? And you need to be able to think of solutions that are sustainable, in the sense that just by solving one problem you shouldn't be creating a lot other problems. And you need to be able to tackle multiple problems with the similar solution. So you need to have that kind of vision to cover all the cases or cover all the different types of problems that people might be facing. And finally, need to have effective communication. This is really important, because you'll be speaking to so many different types of people on a daily basis. They could be developers, they could be business people, they could be end users. So you need to be able to change the way you communicate so that you can speak to people in their own languages, right? So if you're speaking to developers, you may need to be more technical. If you're speaking to designers, you may need to speak in a different way where they can understand the technical problem and change it into like a more design centric issue. If you're talking to users, then obviously you cannot be technical at all, or you can't tell them about technologies. You need to talk about problems and solutions. If you're talking to business people, you need to have a more business type of communication. So you need to basically learn so many different languages, and yeah, just kind of be able to speak to people in their own way and express your thoughts, express your ideas really well. So these are the three most important skills, and thankfully coding is not one of them. So yeah, so if this is something that you feel that you do have, or it's something you can build on, I would really recommend that like you are on the right path for that. Now, if you go more into detail, a product manager needs to have a lot of different skills. They don't need to be a champion at anyone, but they need to have a mix, a good blend of hard and soft skills, so that they can really be effective and make sure that the product they're trying to build is reaches its success. I can maybe share this with you later, but there's a lot of different things you need to do. As I mentioned, you need to have UX sense, you need to have passion for technology, you need to have good leadership skill, project management skill. You need to be really good at analyzing data and user insights, and also to spread the knowledge of your product or feature to a lot of different people. And again, this is kind of like it in a Venn form, which is a bit different from the one I showed you earlier. But yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff that you can learn as a product manager. Now, this is something interesting that I would like to talk about. Like, these are actually some of the ideas that product managers have come up with. For example, early on in Facebook, you could only make posts, but then users were like, okay, I don't know whether people are interested in my post or not, right? So this was a problem that a product manager at Facebook kind of realized. Okay, this is an issue. So how do we solve it? And then they came up with the idea of the like button. It's so ingrained in all our technology today, it's hard to imagine that it didn't exist at a time, like at a point of time. So yeah, so product managers are responsible for even the smallest features, or even big things, like the whole idea of Google Docs also probably came from speaking to users, or and understanding that they have a problem that they can't work on a document at the same time, right? Earlier you had to write it in a Word, then you had to email it to another person, they write back. How about, like, a product manager thought, okay, why don't we just do it at the same time on the internet? And then Google Docs was born. And then we can even like scale it higher, like Tesla as a car is an electric car. The user problem is that fuel oil, it may finish at some point of time, it's very harmful for the environment. Can we build a vehicle which uses electricity? That's a problem. The problem was that, and this is the solution. So what I'm trying to say is that every single product in this world was probably dreamt up by some kind of product manager or some kind of person working in that kind of role. And this is what leads me to my point, is that a product manager can actually change the world, because you have the decision making power to influence user behavior and solve real world problems every day, even at the smallest scale. For example, you want to make sure that people are able to like do video conferencing in the times of COVID, that kind of problem, or even the biggest problem where you want to build an electric car. So yeah, so as a product manager, you have a lot of impact, a high impact, which is something that I really wanted when I was a student. And that's why I'm really happy in this kind of role. And I am really interested in the future challenges and problems that I can solve, and change the way technology works and people interact with it. Yeah, so next point comes in as like, why should you choose a career in product management? So as I already mentioned, it's a very in demand role. Maybe you've already heard about it. And most importantly, it's open to anyone. So even though you may not have a engineering degree, but you can still be involved in the core of technology by being a product manager. Very interesting is that the skill set is very transferable. So if you're a product manager, once you are a product manager, you can work in any industry, any domain, because there's a requirement for a product manager in that. Since you have the skill set which is easily transferable, so you can go from working in, for example, you're working in a travel company, then you want to maybe change into blockchain. So you could move into some kind of cryptocurrency company, and the skills you take are equally useful over there. You could take it to streaming, you could work at Netflix, and the skill set is equally transferable over there. So you're not bound to your domain. Finally, like if you this is one of my favorite things to talk about, is that it's a great training ground for future CEOs and entrepreneurs. And why do I say that? Well, I did some digging, and I would like to ask you if you guys know these three people. So I'm sure some of you know, or you may have heard their names. Do you know what they have in common? They have two things in common. One is that they are, or as Steve Jobs has passed away, they were CEOs of really, really big, some of the biggest companies in the world. So, for example, Steve Jobs was for Apple, Sundar Pichai is the CEO of Google, and this is Susan Wojcicki, or that's her name, and she's the CEO of YouTube. But another thing that they have in common is that before they became CEOs, they were like they were all product managers in their company. So obviously, Steve Jobs founded Apple, but he has always been a product first CEO. Sundar Pichai, before he was the CEO of Google, he was actually the product manager responsible for Chrome and Android. So he's the one who is responsible for creating Google Chrome or Android software. And because of the skill set he gained while doing that, also, and because of the high impact he made, he is now the CEO of Google. Similarly, Susan Wojcicki, she was the PM of Google AdSense, which is Google's biggest money making product. How they earn revenue by using their ads technology. And then now she's the CEO of YouTube. And it doesn't just end there. Satya Nadella, who was the CEO of Microsoft, he was the PM of Microsoft's cloud platform, Azure. Marissa Mayer, who was the ex-CEO of Yahoo. Before that, she was actually the lead PM of Google Search. So she's responsible for the Google search page. And also she's responsible for creating a product manager program in Google, which has been, which has influenced many other companies to hire product managers from university directly. And obviously the CEO of Adobe also was a product manager. And this is Adam Mosseri, I think. He's the head of Instagram currently, but before that, he was the product manager on the FB news feed. And yeah, the list goes on and on. The CEO of Slack was a product manager before. The CEO of Notion, maybe some of you use it, was also a product manager. So you can see what's special about this role, right? And that's something that really inspires me. And I hope that you guys understand that it's such a cool place to be in, to position yourself to be at the like one of the revolutionary leaders in technology companies. Japan tech is catching up quick. As you can see, already more than 3,000 jobs for just product managers in Japan. It's really exciting role, and being bilingual, if you have that kind of skill, it's really beneficial, but it's not mandatory. So that's really great about it, because there are a lot of jobs in Japan may require Japanese. You get the same salaries and perks as a tech engineer, which is really, really great. I can assure you that. And the work culture in Japan tech is very different from maybe typical Japanese culture. So that's also something to look for. And yeah, I think about product management at Rakuten, Tamaki-san will tell you more about. But one thing I would like to mention is that Rakuten is one of probably the only company I know in Japan who is hiring product managers out of university. Otherwise, most companies still require you to have either 2 to 3 years of experience or an MBA. So there's a really great opportunity that you can have to already start within this career, because once you're in, it's very easy to progress further and get to the positions of some of the great leaders. Other than that, you get to move to Tokyo, you get a lot of perks like meals, education, you can travel, you have a lot of discounts and stuff. But most importantly, what I really love is the training and mentorship you get. Like when I joined Rakuten, I was obviously like, I didn't know anything about what a product manager does, but I got really great training and mentorship from people, and I was really able to grow into my own. And you can obviously, Rakuten is a really popular company, so you can directly be like have high impact on many popularly used products. And yeah, Tamaki-san will tell you more about this. Rakuten has so many different services where you can be a part of. And specifically, like Rakuten Travel, it is the largest travel service in Japan. So already we have you will be able to impact millions of users, and it's now looking to go global. So you will be, if you decide to choose Rakuten Travel, then you can really be part of a team that defines the future of travel, especially in Japan and even outside. um, I really love this part about our team. It's really diverse, and we use English as a mode of communication. So I don't know Japanese, but it hasn't been it hasn't been a blocker for me to achieve really great things in my team. And it's a culture and a team that I think that really helps you thrive. And Annie can tell you more about that as well. So yeah, if amongst all these, if you are interested to join Rakuten Travel specifically, then please reach out to me later, and I can tell you what else to do to enter that team. And yeah, finally, to build up the PM skills, I'll just give you three quick advice. One is that absorb knowledge from all directions, right? Read about product management, read about technology, understand what is going on, what's new, and how to gather information and analyze it, and then be able to give insights on it, right? Especially in the terms of technology and user experience. Do side projects, try to figure out on your own how you can build up these skills, right? And Annie is really great at doing that, so she can tell you more about it as well. And finally, yeah, just apply PM mindset in your everyday life, in your university projects, or in your presentations that you're giving, or also in your side projects, and make it visible when you give your interview. Talk about them in a very great detail. And finally, some tips to stand out. Definitely use the advantage of LinkedIn or cold emailing, because a lot of people can get opportunities directly by reaching out to the right people. In your interview or your cold emailing, show your passion for technology and user experience. Show great communication skills, especially written and verbal. And yeah, like just apply on time. I think that's really important as well. So yeah, that's it from me. I hope it was really helpful insight into the world of product management. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn or email for any questions, advice, or even just to like say hi. Yeah, and then let me pass it on to Annie, who can share more information about her internship experience. And yeah, and she can tell you more about what it would be like for a student to intern at Rakuten. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you so much, Tanmay. And on behalf of ADC, if I can take the next part.
Please go ahead, Annie.
Okay. So yeah, if I can put it in one sentence for this presentation, it would be the journey of how I broke into tech, because I am a business student originally, and maybe some of you here are from business background or social science background, non-tech background in a nutshell, and you may be wondering if tech is for you. So why don't I tell you about my story? So for some of you who have never met or heard of me, hi, my name is Annie, and I'm a graduating marketing student from Vietnam. I would say that I am a student with a mind for business, but I really, really love, and I'm always curious about the latest tech products or design. It was quite a contradict for me doing what I studying at school versus what I do and I enjoyed in my time outside of school. So it really gave me a headache when I started my job hunting about a year ago, because I didn't know who I am to be honest, and what is the right career path for me. But after like today, looking back at the past year, today I want to share with you 3 takeaways that I had. Is first, to embrace your background. Yes, I am a business student and I don't know anything about tech, but it didn't stop me from venturing outside of my studying and testing out water of different fields. And for me, it's a lot to do with new technology as well as design. I did a lot of internships and even volunteers in my first few years of university, just trying to see if is tech just something that I have an interest in, or is it something that I may actually have the potential and the passion for it. But I never came across the role of product managers or UX, user experience design, until I went to the University of British Columbia in my second year, where I took design method for business innovation. My mistake. You really just need maybe that one life-changing event that can change your future. And for me, probably it was this course. That was when I realized that you can actually combine business and technology. And for me, that felt like a very suitable combination. And after that, I just invested my time in and trying to delve into the tech world. I joined hackathon, I kept on doing internships, and I started doing side projects. The second takeaway is that because I am not originally from a technical background, I knew that I have to show up more for myself, and I have to communicate with everyone across that it's okay if I'm not from this background, but I am willing to learn, and let me show you what I have been doing so far. As a result, I try to keep myself updated and learn as much as I can, taking online courses. I try to practice, I joined hackathons, I took the most simple and familiar things around me, and I try to look at it from a product or design perspective. I redesigned the information portal from our university to get user feedback, to do user research, and to try to improve the experience for students. And last but not least, I knew that I have to share what I learned, because if it just stays within myself, then it's very hard to gain new knowledge. I need to interact more with people around me. So I started publishing my learnings on LinkedIn or on my website, and I got feedback from it. And I was able to connect with a lot of people that really helped shape my career path. Exactly my third point, make meaningful connections. So by the time I was in 4th year, as Tanmay also briefly mentioned, actually that's where we met, at where I was an intern at Mainizu, which is a social enterprise. This was when I was introduced about the role of product manager, because Tanmay was my product manager mentor there. And he told me a lot about what I can do with my skills in the perspective of product and technology. And we were able to work on a few cool projects together. And I wanted to reach out to him to see how I can bring my skill set to the next level. He helped me to connect with what he has been doing at his company, Rakuten, and guided me how I can also apply and how I can test myself and how I can challenge myself in this new field. And that was when I applied. I did my homework, I applied, I sat the interview, and I got my internship at Rakuten as a product manager. During that time, I also kept on doing a lot of connection, talking to the teams, understanding what they have been doing, and see where I find myself fitting in the team. And towards the end of my internship, I expressed my willingness to learn a bit more, and the team was very open, and they encouraged me to challenge myself as a UX designer intern. So that's why I said I did 2 internships at Rakuten, and it gave me really a whole and overall knowledge of not only what the tech side or the travel industry could be, but for me, how I can bring my business perspective, my marketing background, and my personality into the team. And with lots of hard work and work hard, play hard, having good time while learning much as I can. I got the interview for the final presentation, and I got the offer to join Rakuten as a full-time employee in a few months. So yeah, I did not ask permission of all employees, so I had to put some stickers on their face, but this was at my final presentation. It was hybrid, unfortunately, but everyone came to see and support me. So it was a very memorable final presentation day for me. To go in much more detail what I did as an intern, it was my first time working in tech, working in the travel industry. So every day was dedicated to updating the knowledge, reading articles, learning about what the company is about, and also utilizing Rakuten's merits for employees, such as team meetings, trainings from HR, to even tech conferences and other perks as well. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was to having ficas, which is basically having a one-on-one coffee chat with another person from your team and just get to know each other and ask about anything. Regarding my two internships, specifically as a product manager and as the designer afterwards, I got assigned to a mentor. And coincidentally, Tanmay was my mentor, and he has been really helpful and he's been really supportive. We had daily mentorship where we would check in on each other and learn more about different parts of being a product manager or as a designer with my other manager lab afterwards. As a product manager and under the mentorship of Tanmay, I was shadowing all of his work. And in the end, I got assigned to work on some of the tasks that he and the team was working for. And my final deliver was to write a mini PRD, which is very essential part of being a product manager. And for my other part of being a designer intern, I went through all of the design and product lifecycle, from conceptualization, problem identification, to brainstorming ideas, to prototyping, and then in the end, pitch the proposal, which sounds like a lot of work, but I definitely had a very supportive team, mentor, and even just colleagues that would help me both professionally and mentally as well. So 2 months, 3 months felt like it went by really fast. So to be honest, I felt like I was at a disadvantage when I joined because I did not have any hard skills at all. But I realized that even with the soft skills that I had from school or from my experience, and my personality being someone who's very willing to learn, who loves trying new things and have a very big passion for products and in the tech field, I felt like that alone really helped me a lot to later acquire the hardest skills to becoming a product manager or a designer, such as like product vision, product ownership, prioritization, all the things that Tanmay previously mentioned in his presentation. As Tanmay said, and as myself, I experienced, you don't need to have a tech background to be able to work in tech. However, having a combination of both hard and soft skills will take you far, and it will keep you motivated to learn more, because tech is a growing industry and every day is a new and exciting day to learn. So yeah, if you know your story, no matter what your story is, no matter what your background is, if you are willing to learn and grow, and most importantly, if you are willing to communicate it across, tell people that you want it, tell them by the deadline, and then you too can to work or even break into tech. And yeah, I wish you all the best because there are opportunities coming.
Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you, Tamaki-san, and thank you, Annie, for your sharing. So now let's move on to the Q&A section. So if you have any question, please raise your hand. Ilmi-san, please go ahead.
Thank you for the chance. So thank you very much for the explanation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Shariza Ilmi. I am actually from Tohoku University, so thank you very much for APU for this event. So I just finished my first year undergraduate, so I am graduating in 2025. However, I actually have a really strong passion in product. I have innovated a product that bring impact to more than 3,000 users, NPS of 61. I even got a funding from company, and now I'm building a product that we actually already got 150 user as a beta tester, even if we haven't launched. But the thing is, I really want this product that I built right now to be successful, but I don't have any professional experience working in company. And seeing Rakuten about its product management chance, including the mentor program, I actually really interested in it as I'm graduating in 2025. Do you have any advice or opportunity that I can look into? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So about opportunity, maybe Tamaki-san can answer that. But I would just like to say that it's really great to see that since the first year already, you are interested in product. And that's really useful because by the time you do get to the point where you are, looking for jobs or interviewing, you will have so much to talk about and so much experience to share, which already maybe may help you be different from other candidates. So just keep doing, like keep learning from your mistakes and improving the product as much as you can. And yeah, I think we have internship for people in all different years as well. So maybe Tamaki-san, what if people are graduating in 25 or 24? What can they do?
We usually have summer internship called Rakuten Natsunojin. It depends on the year, but from 5 days to 7 days. And during that, you need to code. But we also offer PDM Natsunojin event, maybe in 4 or 5 days. During that, we will look for what you want to create and what you think and what kind of logical thinking you have. So no tech background will need. So you can challenge to that one. And also we offer long-term internship. And it is not open for every time, but if you reach to Rakuten employees, me, Kumagai-san, Ame or Annie, and if you give us some CV, we can send it to the hiring managers. And if hiring managers said okay to hire for internship student, we can send you an offer. Tame said that during his presentation, maybe it is very difficult to find the new grads PDM role inside Japan. And also it is very difficult to find same role as new grads in US or other countries. Because usually for the route to be PDM might be start from engineer. Most of PDM have engineer careers at first and change the role and job to PDM. So if you really want to be PDM, I think Rakuten is good company to start from new grads. But I think it's better to speak this much more than me to Kumagai-san. He is section manager of PDM of travel. Let me ask his point of view.
I just wanted to observe today's event, but yeah, let me make some comment. I recommend you to learn about how you're going to build your product. And the one idea is to create the lean canvas type of the definition first, and try to create the product and run the testing by the actual users. And looking back what you did and getting the feedback from users and can improve. So if you iterate this kind of activity, then you will learn what is a really necessary thing and how you should do to attract the customers. Yeah, that's my advice. And I'm always welcome to join the Rakuten Travel as an internship.
Thank you very much for the answer.
No problem.
Great. Yeah, I think I'm getting some questions on chat as well. So for the chat ones, we'll cover them after, or you can ask them directly in person as well. Otherwise, we can answer them offline too. So yeah, next question, please.
Okay, so meanwhile, Janasa, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for APU team and thank you to my Sang and Tamaki-san for today. I'm a student for Toyo University and your talk was very informative and inspirational. I have a question regarding increasing your user experience skills. So how would you advise us if we want to improve our user experience skills aside from just reading articles and experimenting with apps and products? So it's for Tamai-san.
Okay, yeah. So I was gonna suggest you the three things that you just mentioned, but yeah. So obviously, aside from reading, playing around with apps, and I guess watching videos, etc., one of the best ways to do it is to talk to people directly. You know, user experience comes from having a general understanding of or like empathy towards the users. So when you try to come up, when you find problems that people might be facing, and you speak to them about it, then you gain that kind of empathy. Then maybe the next time you speak to a person, and if they share the same kind of sentiment, then you are building your user experience skill, because now you know that, okay, the third person in this demographic may have a similar kind of problem as well, you know. And so by doing this, you can really increase your knowledge base. And like obviously user experience research is done at a wide scale in the world, so you can also read existing research to gain this knowledge as well, but firsthand is always better to gain empathy. So that should be the goal, to gain the skill to understand your users, and then I think you would definitely get great skills experience.
Thank you so much.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Thank you. And Longsa, please go ahead.
Okay, so hello. Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you, Annie, and thank you, Tamaki-san, for insightful talk. A little bit of self-introduction. My name is Time Long. I also go by Ryan in my university, and I'm now in my fourth year. So I was able to initiate like a tourism social enterprise in my first year, which also works on like an application more focusing on like customer facing side. So I was happy to relate to some of the passions that Tammy was talking about when he introduced like Spanish travel. My main question is about like mainly about the role as a product manager. So how much you all involved in the process of product development as APM? So let's say like if based on the framework on design thinking, then do you need to get involved in, let's say, customer empathy, ideas, or prototype, or will PM only mainly play the role of like coordinating across like function in an effective way? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, so it's a good mix of both. So in some cases you have to start from scratch and you have to get the like you mentioned design thinking process. So you have to start from users, brainstorm. After you find the problems, you have to brainstorm the solutions. Then you have to prioritize and figure out what to actually build. And then actually the part comes about communicating with stakeholders and getting everything done. So I think it's all integrated into the same product development cycle. So yeah, you'll get to do a bit of both and a lot of both. And a very interesting thing is also you can also, after doing a bunch of both, you could decide to take projects which involve more of design thinking or creation, or you could take projects which involve more of integration or speaking to different stakeholders, and you know, more of that kind of role. So at this point, some of my projects involve both in a high level. Like sometimes if I feel in the future I want to build more of my skill in more of a technical aspect or more of a communication aspect, then I could go into a different project. Otherwise, if I want to go directly deep into the user experience, then I can choose that kind of thing. So I think that's a really great opportunity for a product manager to build up all the different skills that I talked about. Yeah.
So you have like the flexibility of choosing which side of the project that you will get involved in to develop a specific set of skills. That's very interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And Helena-san, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Tamai-san and Ani-san, for the presentation. It was very informative and motivating. I would like to ask, what did you think was your best selling point in the interview, both for the product manager position and the internship for UX designer? And was it in full Japanese? Thank you.
So is this question to Annie or me?
Both.
Oh, okay. So let me answer first, and then maybe Annie can answer after that. So I didn't know Japanese when I was interviewing for this company. I didn't even know initially that whether Japanese or English was spoken or not. But yeah, my interview actually also was with Kumagai-san, and I gave it completely in English. And I have done everything in English since I've joined Rakuten. So and I think this is just my opinion. Maybe it was different when they chose me, but I think my communication skill, passion, as well as past experience directly involved in product development were the three important things that they were looking for. Because maybe from a college student, it's very hard to gauge whether they have the skill at this point or not. So they are looking at whether you have the passion and the drive to actually gain the skills that are needed later and become an important part of the team and product. So I think in your interview, you really need to show why you want to become a product manager specifically, and what kind of passion you have to make that happen. I think that's very important. Annie, maybe you can also share.
Okay. I also will answer based on my own interpretation. Maybe Kumagai-san and other managers have different ideas. But I think personally, I feel like it's just the fact that I was very passionate about it, regardless of what my background was. Yeah. And not only that, did I have the passion, but I was able to show it. So in the application round, you have to submit your resume. And in there, I felt like I was not only able to show that I had a lot of experience, but in particular, what I did during those experience. Showing the actual numbers and the actual task and the description, the job that I was doing and how it actually relates, or that it contained the skills that will be later on be useful during my job as a product manager. Other than that, I feel like I have a very high learning spirit, and I was just very curious because obviously I didn't know anything about it, but it didn't stop me from telling them that it's okay if I know that I don't know a lot about it now, but I am willing to learn. All I'm lacking is someone to show me the way. So will you be that person? And gladly that afterwards I got a lot of support from both managers and even closely with Tanmay as my mentor. And that was one of the things that even at the end final interview with to get the final job offer, I was able to explicitly explain not only what I did during my internship, but why in the end I want to continue to stay and work with the team.
Um, just a small question for Annie. Was it in full Japanese for the interview?
It was in English. However, in the final interview, Kumagai-san asked me something in Japanese, but it was unexpected, but it was a very good opportunity for me to show that I am flexible and I can tackle any challenge that you throw at me.
I see. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think one last question for Tanmay-san we got from the chat. So there's a person that asked, can you talk more about what your typical day as a product manager look like?
So there is no typical day as a product manager. It's very, I think that's also another really great thing, is that it's always exciting. You never know what's gonna come up or what's gonna happen. However, I would say most of our days goes into speaking to the different stakeholders. For example, in the morning, I had a meeting with another PDM, another product manager, to discuss one of the new features we are building. Then I had a meeting with developers to tell them about one of the ideas that I've been thinking about and whether that's feasible to build. I also had a meeting with my own manager to discuss my future career and how I can improve my skills. And then I had meeting with designers to discuss about like different concept like content moderation strategy or these kind of things. So there's just like today, but tomorrow is completely like tomorrow's a holiday, but Monday will be completely different. But yeah, you can think that most of it will go speaking to different stakeholders or defining user experiences and getting people on the same page. talking to different people, and then making sure everyone agrees so that we can move forward and release in time.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So because we are running short of time, so maybe just one more question from Arisa.
Thank you so much for the speech today. I have one question about internship. So in terms of the internship, is there offering any long-term 2 or 3 months internship in English?
Yes, we have long-term internship that Annie had attended, and it is based on English for usual. But fully English internship for PDM is offered at some services like travel and other department in LPD. But for Ichiba, Rakuten Ichiba, that service, many of PDMs are Japanese. So for some of group, it is difficult to make an offer only in English. So if you want to do English internship in Rakuten, please apply to travel or department named Leisure Product Department. And if you want to challenge to the long-term internship, please connect me in LinkedIn and send me your CV.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you so much, Tanmay, Annie, Tamaki-san, and Kumagai-san for being our guest today. And we have learned a lot about Rakuten, the recruitment, as well as having more insight about the product manager job. And also, we would like to thank all the participants here. Due to the time limit, we are so sorry that we need to end the event here. But if you have any further question, you can connect Annie, Tanmay, and Akiko-san LinkedIn as they just sent in the chat box. And thank you so much, everyone, for today.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please have a nice weekend.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.